welcome to Monday's edition of Cracking the Cryptic. I hope you all had a very nice Easter yesterday, those who celebrate such things. Now, what have we got for you today? Well, some of you have remarked most unkindly that I've had an easy time of it the last 3 or 4 days, with a sequence of easier puzzles, in the sense that they've all taken me less than an hour to solve. I'm assured this one might increase the average somewhat. It's called Chaos Construction Killer, and it's by KNT. Now, KNT only started setting puzzles relatively recently, but I noticed on Logic Masters Germany that every one of KNT's puzzles has been hugely acclaimed. And a lot of chaos constructions as well. You can see this is a chaos construction. What does chaos construction mean in the world of Sudoku? Well, it means that we have not been given the regions. So normally, of course, a Sudoku grid is divided into 3 by 3 boxes. No such luck today. We're going to have to build the boxes ourselves, but I'm looking forward to trying this. It's a hugely popular puzzle, and it's been recommended to us, I think, 5 or 6 times already, so we should be in for a treat. Now, what do I need to tell you about today? A couple of things. I want to say a very happy birthday to Liza. Liza, your boyfriend Jake got in touch with us, and I believe you're both about to graduate from university, and you've just turned or are just turning 22. So I hope you have a super day. We're delighted to hear from those of you who found the channel in recent months and enjoy the content. It really is a thrill. Other than that, do keep checking out our apps. If you own any of our Sudoku apps, and why wouldn't you? They are the best apps you can buy, I promise you, because all of the puzzles are handmade, and the constructors don't just include Mark and I should say that up front. We have some of the world's great constructors making puzzles for those apps, and they're all hand hinted as well. So what we've done is Mark and I have literally gone through every single puzzle and put what we call intelligent hints in. So the idea being that you can sort of, you can read the hint and understand how a human being would solve that puzzle, rather than get some computer generated gibberish. Anyway, we are very close to updating every single one of our current apps to the 100 puzzles that we guaranteed. We've done Killer recently, we've done Thermo recently, Arrow is about to happen, Miracle is about to happen. I think Classic's already done, Sandwich is already done, and this is all paving the way for the launch of a new app, which is hopefully coming very soon. Domino Sudoku, watch this space. Other than that, if you're a patron of the channel over on Patreon, you have 2 days to get your solutions in to our monthly reward, so please get those in quickly. We'll be announcing the winners just after the 20th of April. And yes, we are going to be publishing my solve of this April Fool puzzle by Phistomefel on the channel later this week. But if you want to see that early, that's on Patreon right now, and lots of you have been enjoying that. So that's all the news. Let us have a look at this puzzle, and I'll read you the rules. They are as follows. Place 1 of each digit 1 to 9 in every row, column and region. The puzzle's 9 regions must be determined by the solver, and each consists of 9 orthogonally connected cells which cannot overlap. Digits in a cage must sum to the value in the top left corner of the cage. Okay, so those 5 cells there add to 27. Every cage is entirely contained within one region, i.e., for any cage, no 2 cells within that cage belong to different regions. Okay, well, that's what I would have understood by the previous sentence, but okay. So basically, every one of these cages is entirely within one region. Okay, I understand that, I think. Do have a go. The way to play is to click the link under the video as usual, but now I get to play. Let's get cracking. I'm tempted to put a 1 and a 3 into the 4 cage in the interests of appearing I'm making progress. Oh, 17 in 2 cells must be an 8-9 pair. We've got some 15 cages I'm noticing. We've got 12 cage must have a 1 and a 2 in it. I don't know if that's important, but 8 cage must have a 1 in it. Yeah, okay, so we've got things like 5 cages and 15 cages, which each have 2 options. Okay, I'm not seeing much else here, so we're probably going to have to try and build the regions. Now, how can we do that? Oh, I was about to try and argue that you couldn't attach that cage to that cage, but you actually can. Yeah, the secret might be important today. Now, the secret is not something I tell everybody. I only tell my favourite people the secret. But of course, if you're watching this video, you're very much among my favourite people. Now, the secret is that any complete row... Why did I highlight a column when I said row? There is a mystery. Any complete row, any complete column, and any complete box of a Sudoku, now we can't do boxes here, but any complete region in this Sudoku will contain the digits 1 to 9 once each. And if you add up the digits 1 to 9, you get 45. So what I was thinking when I was looking at combining these is that I was thinking I was going to blow the total for some reason, but I'm actually not. If these are in the same region, 8 of the 9 cells in that region would sum to 40, i.e. 28 plus 12, and that would mean there would be a 5 in a different position, and that 5 actually couldn't go in the 6 cage, could it? Because then you couldn't put both of the 6 cage in this region with the 28 and the 12 cages. Okay, hang on. This 27 cage is definitely restricted. So there's a few things we can say about this 27 cage. I'm going to highlight it. The first is that it's not the same as the 17 cage. And that's because if it was, we would have a 7-cell cage there that summed to 44, which would mean the 2 digits missing from that cage would have to sum up to 1, and that's not going to work. Now the other thing I'm noticing is that you can't, that 18 cage there suffers exactly the same fate. If we join the 18 cage to the 27 cage, we'd have 45 already in those 7 cells, and we'd have to have 2 more cells to make the region up, both of which would have to sum to 0. So that's nonsense. So this is a different region from the 27 cage. Now, this orange region is now in a cul-de-sac look. It can pick up 3 cells from the 8 cage, but then it's going to have to start marching along row 1. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So it's got to come at least to here. But now it's annoying because it could dip down. It could dip down and start taking the 6, depending on whether it takes the 8 cage or not. Oh! Hang on, I've been talking nonsense. I can't count. The 18 cage has a significantly different number of digits to the 17 cage because it's a 3-cell cage. Oh, I'm so sorry. So when I was talking, I mean, the logic doesn't change in the sense that you definitely can't join the 18 cage and the 27 cage together. But there are 8 cells there, so you'd only be missing 1 cell, which would have to be a 0. Now this is big, because now the 8 cage can't join the blue cage, because if it did, 27 plus 8 is 35, and there would have to be 1 cell, 1 digit missing from that 8-cell region, which would have to contain a 10 to get the region up to 45, and that won't work. So in fact, 8 is orange. And oh, this is lovely. Right, okay, and now we've got 26 there. Well, more to the point, we've got an 8-cell orange region, which must take 1 more cell. Well, it can't take a cell in the 6 cage because it would have to take the other cell in the 6 cage. So that completes the orange region. And we have a start on the puzzle. Yeah, okay, I'm starting to see how this works now. Right, this blue cage can't join with the 12 cage because 27 plus 12 is not 45. And the 27 doesn't join to the 17, so it could take some of the 6, or it could take both cells of the 6 cage, but if it did, it couldn't take the 28 cage as well. So it would be penned in. And that's because obviously if all of these were blue, you've got a region that's absolutely mammoth and what adds up to way more than 45. So the blue region must come down here, at least 2 cells, and it could come down further than this, depending on whether it takes the 6 cage. Oh, I like this so far. This is interesting. But we know that the 17 cage is definitely not blue. So that must be yellow, and yellow needs to escape. So yellow must take at least one cell of the 8. So it must take 2 cells of the 8. So I need 2 more cells for the blue. So the blue is not the same as the 21. But can the... right. So this is a new colour. I'm going to award this red status. And the reason this is a new colour is this cannot join to the 27, because obviously it's already adding up to more than 45 if it does. Now it also can't join to the yellow because those cells add up to 25, and 25 plus 21 is 46. So we'd have to have the other 2 cells in the region adding up to -1, which is silly. So this is red, therefore, because it can't be blue or yellow. But if yellow takes this cell, well, if it takes either of those 2 cells, then how do we join up yellow to yellow without isolating some cells in the bottom left of the grid? You can't do it. You've got 6 cells here. So I'm going to have to connect this to this without isolating that. So that's going to have to be part of yellow, which means the whole of this column must be part of yellow, because if there is a red in here, it needs to attach here, and in doing that you're going to divide yellow from yellow. So the whole of that becomes yellow, and now yellow is 9 cells and it hasn't connected. So that doesn't work. So this 5 region is not yellow, which means yellow lives entirely in column 1 and 2. So yellow's got 4 cells at the moment, and 5 of these 6 cells are yellow, but I don't know which ones they are. I don't have a good way of representing that, so I'm going to do it like this. Now that might mean... Does that mean the 5... Well, it means the 5 is not yellow, but the 5 could be red. If the 5 was not red, the 5 would have to come down here, which it could do very nicely, actually. You'd be combining sort of low average digits with high average digits and heading towards an average of 5, which is probably where you want to end up. Okay. Right, so what do we do next with this? We have to ask ourselves more difficult questions, probably. Wow. The 28 can't join to the 17 cage because they would add up to 45, but they would only be 8 cells, so we'd have to add another cell to the region, and you get a region that was too high. Okay, I'm not sure whether this matters or not, but the 6 region is, or the 6 cage is not joining with the 12 cage, and that's because if you did join these together, you'd have 6 cells in this puzzle which all have to be different digits, and they would have to add up to 18. Well, the triangular number for 6, which is 6 plus 5 plus 4 plus 3 plus 2 plus 1, i.e. the minimum you could make 6 different digits add up to in a Sudoku, would be 21. So that doesn't work. So this is different to this. Oh, so maybe I need to colour this region. But the problem is, if I colour this region, if I colour this green, say, am I suggesting green and red are not the same? Now, if green and red were the same, they would add up to 33 with 2 more cells to go. Oh dear. What about adding the 6 to the 28? Is that problematic? That would give us a 6-cell region adding to 34. That's definitely not problematic. The only thing that's interesting about that is that we've only got 3 more cells to add to such a region. So if that was a region there, if this was a region, if we attach the 6 to the 28, we know the 12 is not part of that region. We did the maths on the 6 and the 12 already, but now we've got 6 regions, so we can only add 3 cells to it, so we can't add the 16 or the 17 region to it. So that would mean you'd have to have 3 cells up here that were grey. And then you'd have 8 cells here. How could, no, this can't work. This is weird though. This is quite hard to see. So I'm going to argue that the 6 cage and the 28 cage are not the same. And the reason for this is that if they are the same, once I take 3 other cells in the top right, and I'd have to do that to create a 9-cell region, and I don't think it matters which cells I take, providing they're not in any of these 4-cell cages, I've now got a wall, effectively, because these cells here, these purple 17 cells, they divide these white cells at the top from the rest of the grid. So I have to have a 9-cell region up here, because if I have anything less than that, if I try and take 5 cells up here to make my purple complete, for example, obviously I get stranded 3 cells that can't belong to any region. And if I don't take any cells of purple up here, I haven't got enough to make a 9-cell region. So something is wrong, and is inexcusably wrong. It's so wrong that we can't continue. It's been completely busted. So this means that, well, this is quite important probably, because I think that means that the 6 cage is blue, because it can't join the 28, and we've worked out the 6 cage couldn't join this 12 cage here, so that's blue. Now blue can't then join the 28 cage. Oh, blue's finished, in fact. Yeah, blue's got 9 cells now. Right, I see. Okay, sorry, I should have seen that instantly, but didn't. But we still have to be careful here, because red and green could be the same. Now, okay, what next, I wonder? So if green doesn't join to the 28, so let's hive off this 28 and say it's not greenable. What does green do then? Green can't join to the 16, actually. Maybe that's an important point to note somehow. Green can never join to the 16 because those 8 cells would add to 28, and we'd have to have another cell in the region that added up to 17, which is clearly nonsense. So green would have to come to there. And green needs 4 more now. Oh, so it could do something like that. That's probably what it does. Because the 21 is quite high, the 12 is quite low, 33, we'd need these 2 squares to add up to 12. If it didn't take the 21, it would have to go here, but we're now in a bifurcation on a bifurcation, which I resent. Okay, sorry. I don't think there's an easy way of demonstrating what this 12 does. So, okay. So the 21 here, which don't forget might be the same as green, but let's imagine, let's not worry about that for a moment. The 21 here can't join the 15. And that's because if it did join the 15, those 5 cells would add up to 36, and that's impossible because 9 plus 8 plus 7 plus 6 plus 5 is only 35. So this is a new region, which I can purplify. Oh, this is tricky. This is really tricky, because even though that's a new region, I don't think it tells me what this is. Well, it tells me this is red or purple now, because we know yellow is totally confined to the first 2 columns. So this has to join either red or purple. But I don't really see a good argument one way or the other for it being red or purple. So, oh, nearly with the 1, 3. Maybe it's Sudoku we've got to do. I was just looking at the 3 here. In orange, look, it nearly gets squeezed into the 8 cage. Hang on a minute, let me think about this for a second or two, because there is quite some stuff going on with low digits on the left hand side of this grid. We've got to have 1s and 3s down here, don't we, in yellow? Yeah, hang on a minute, let's think about this. Yeah, this is straightforward actually. Where does 3 go in yellow? The answer is I don't know, but it's in one of those. Well, it's in one of those 8 cells. So, and we know that there's a 3 in orange in one of those 4 cells. So there are no more possible 3s in columns 1 and column 2. If we did decide that there was a 3 in blue, for example, here, that would be a third 3 in 2 columns of the grid, which will definitely break the rules of Sudoku, because there is only 1 3 in column 1 and there is only 1 3 in column 2. So these can't be 3s, but you can't put 3 in a 6 cage in blue. So there's a 3 in one of these cells, which means that now this 5 cage is not a 2 3 version. That's a 1 4 version. And oh, I see. Yeah, this is beautiful. Good grief. Right. So now let's perform the same magic with 1s here. Because there's no 1 in this domino. And now there's no 1 in this spine of the blue cage. So there's a 1 in the 6 cage, which must go with 5. So this is no longer able to be 1. Oh yeah, this is really good. KNT, this is really good. Now 4, where does 4 go in the blue cage? It's got to go over here. Now that ordinarily wouldn't matter, except remember in yellow there is a 4 in one of those cells. So that means there is no 4 in orange in these cells, because if there was, that would be a third 4 in columns 1 and 2. So this cage is not a 1 3 4 cage. And if it's not a 1 3 4 cage, yet it adds up to 8, it must be a 1 2 5 cage, which places 3, places 2, because there's not 1 or 5 here. So now we've got a, now this is not 1. Now these 2 squares add up to 15. So that's a third domino in the puzzle that adds up to 15. So I'm finally going to pencil mark these, I think. Oh, no, okay. So these are not 3 anymore. So there's a 3 over here. There's a 2 in one of those cells in yellow because of this 2 there. And we must have a 2 in yellow. 4 in orange must be in this domino here. Well, remember the 12 cage needs a 1 in it, and there's a 1 there. So the 2 1s that there must be in the combination of column 4 and column 5 are in those 6 cells. So there is no 1 in the 8 cage, which means the 8 cage is not 1 7, it's 2 6 or 3 5. Where does where does 5 go in column 3? Column 3, I'm mixing up my rows and columns again. But we've got this 1 5 pair here, so it's not in the blue spine. It's not there because of orange already, and it's not in a 1 4 pair, so that's a 5, which means these 2 squares add up to 16, so they are 7 and 9, which means this is not 7 and 9, which means this is 7 or 9. Which means that I don't know what that means. I'm trying to see. This is all getting very cluttered, is my opinion, on columns 3, 4 and 5 now. I think there's probably some stuff we can do here, if my brain was being cleverer about it. Come on, brain, get cleverer. Cleverer. If the 12 cage has two options, doesn't it? It's either 1, 2, 4, 5 or 1, 2, 3, 6. If it's 1, 2, 4, 5, then this would have to be a 2, 6 pair, which would at least be interesting. If it's 1, 2, 3, 6, we know much less about its nature. Right. I can tell you something about this cage. This cage is not 1, 2, 4, 5, I'm going to allege. And this is only an allegation at the moment. This is not proven. We have to... Right, here is my argument for this not being 1, 2, 4, 5. If it's 1, 2, 4, 5, it now cannot join the 28 cage. And that's because those two cages together add up to 40, so they're missing a 5. Because there must be another digit somewhere, let's make it there, that is the 5 that would complete this 9-cell region. So that this bit having a 5 in it rules out the green attaching to the 28. Now, where is it going to go then for its extra digits? It can't join the 16, we've already looked at that, so it's got to wend its way down here. Now it can't join this, because this has already got a 5 in it, so it would have to join the 8 cage, and that's broken. Because if it joins the 8 cage, then we're saying that those 6 cells add up to 20. And we've already said the triangular number for 6 is 21. So that's impossible. So this, I think, has to be a 1, 2, 3, 6 quadruple. And that... Oh, come on, that must do something. It... Got a clue what that does. That is so strange. That's a hard-won deduction. But now I think this can absolutely join up to red. If it joins to red, you'd have 33. You'd need 12 more, which couldn't be 3, 9 or 5, 7. So if it joins red, this would have to need... This region would need a 4, 8 pair, and that would have to be a 4 or an 8. Which might be possible, actually. But the problem is, with this not having a 5 in it now, it can also join the 28 cage. So this is getting much more difficult now. Okay, how can Sudoku help us again? Sudoku, where are you? What are you going to allow us to do? There's no 1 in these 2 digits. Because, of course, there must be a 1 in those 6 cells. Okay, that's not... that's by purpose, isn't it? This is by purpose. What's going on with 1s in column 6, therefore? That's not a 1, apparently. You can't put 1 in a 28 cage, or the other 3 cells would all have to be 9s, and that won't work. You can't put 1 in a 3-cell 19 cage, because the other 2 digits would have to both be 9. Again, that won't work. And you can't put 1 there, because that would require this to be a 10. So there is a 1 in the 16 cage. Now, I think that matters. Because how could now the 16 cage join up to the 28 cage? The answer is it can't. Because if it did, these cells would add to 44 and would be missing a 1, which they're not. No, hang on, I'm getting confused now. Right, hang on. So this one, I think this does deserve its own colour now. Now the problem is that I think in putting this colour in, I'm really just dealing with. I'm not saying that this is different from this. I'm not. It might be different from this, and there may be a straightforward. But what I'm really trying to focus on is the relationship between these cages. So I'm saying this is definitely different from this. This one, though, could be green. It cannot be grey. But the other thing to note is that this 17 cage now can't be grey. In fact, it never could be. Because if these were all in a region together, they would add up to 33, and there would be a missing 12 in one cell, which is silly. So this is a different. I'll make this yellow because obviously it's not going to touch down there. This is different from this. Now, yeah, and it's different from green. So these are all different. Aha, got you. Right. This is lovely. Right, so I now know what the 28 cage, where the 28 cage lives in this puzzle. Because, remember I said it couldn't join grey. It definitely can't join yellow, because then there would be, these 8 cells would sum to 45. That's too, well, you'd have to have 1 cell missing, which would be a 0. Now, what if it didn't join to green? So let's make this a new region and see what happens. And the problem we have here is that this region needs to get its other 5 cells from the top right of the grid. We don't know where they would go. Let's just give it those. But now what's happened? How are we going to make this yellow work with these whites? Because we can take 5 cells there and create a 9-cell region, but we're always going to be isolating 1 cell in the top of the grid. And if we don't join these up with yellow, well, we don't have a 9-cell region left behind, so it's all gone wrong. So I think that means that the 28 is green, which means that there's no 5 in the 28 cage, because we know that 12 plus 28 is 40, 45 minus 40 is 5, so this cage it's not got a 6 in it either. No, that's fine, it can be 4, 7, 8, 9. Phew. Okay. So where's this getting its 5 from then? Because I've noticed that we've got 1, 5 pairs looking at those cells, so it's not there. Can that be a 5? Oh, yeah, it probably is a 5, because look, orange, we've got to put 2 and 5 in row 1. So they've got to be there. That's a 2, 5 pair. So probably this is a green 5. Oh, no, hang on a minute. What's going on if I make that a green 5? No, there's something wrong here with making this a green 5. And it's all to do with this yellow region again. Because, right, the question we should ask is it possible that the white cells in the top right of this grid are all part of this yellow region? And the answer is quite clearly no. There are lots and lots of these cells, so we're going to make a far too big a region if these are all yellow. So there is, obviously these can't, well, one of them could join to green, but only one of them. So there must be a new region up here somewhere. And that region needs a 5 in it. So where does it get its 5 from? It can't get it from any of these cells because of Sudoku. So the only place the region that lives in the top right hand side of this grid can get a 5 from is this domino. So one of these is a new region's 5 in the top of the grid. Therefore we can't also give the 5 up here to the green region. So the 5 in the green region has to be there, I'm going to argue, because that seems to be the only cell that can orthogonally attach to green that isn't up here. So that completes green. So green is now replete and feels good about the world. Okay, now so there's a region up here. I'm going to make I was going to make it red, but then I've noticed that red and orange would be close together, so that's a bad idea. I'll make it purple. Purple is down here. So there's a purple here, which is part of a new region. Now, is that purple the same as the 4 cage or not? For it not to be, the 4 cage would have to be yellow. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yes, so we'd have to do that. And that's not going to work. Ah, right. That's not going to work, because if we do try and make these yellow, we have to connect these up to each other without stranding regions. So we're going to have to do that. And that does create a lovely 9-cell yellow region, but it leaves behind a number that's not mod 9 in terms of its number of cells. We've only got 6 cells there in purple altogether, so that doesn't work. So that must both be purple. So now we've got 4 of the 9 purple cells. Now, no, okay. Yeah, you can see this could be, yeah, that could be yellow, I think. Or it could be purple and leave some of these to be yellow. Okay. I can certainly see so far why this has been recommended. This is a terrific puzzle. It's actually very interesting. I'm surprised I haven't seen a variant like this before. You know, where you have to sort of use existing killer cages to build the regions. So, what do we do now? So I know there's yellow and purple up here. I must have nearly got 9 colours in the grid. I know that I've got to be careful. Oh! No, hang on, this is huge, because one possibility I was aware of was that green and red were the same, but now green and red are not the same, and red is not the same as purple. How many regions have I got? I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I believe all regions are in the puzzle, and that means I think I've made a mistake. Because it doesn't, well, I suppose actually, you know, it just feels like there's an awful lot of real estate down here that's got to be filled using the existing regions we've got in the puzzle. Wow, okay, well this is mighty. Well, we've got this task to do. I've got to allocate each one of these cells to an existing region somehow. I suppose this could be purple or yellow, so maybe it's not iridescent. Oh no, this can't be yellow, because if that's yellow, all of these would have to be yellow, and then there wouldn't be enough yellow to allocate to the top right of the grid. We could take 1 yellow, but that would leave behind 10 cells in purple, so that's not yellow. So doesn't it have to be purple? Because if that was grey, no, it's too many cells from grey, and if it's red, oh no, maybe it could be red. Hang on, I'm getting confused. If it was something like that, is there enough room there to fill in purple underneath it? It seems very, very unlikely to me, I have to say. So if purple was something like that, red, 1, 2, 3, 4. No, because every time red hits a cage, it has to take all the cells in the cage. So that's not going to work. There's no way it can get down here. I'm going to allege that that's purple and it's the same as that. I'm not going to rely on that because I'm not totally convinced. I would bet my house on it, but I'm pretty close to thinking that's what I would do. Oh, I've got an 8 cage there, I've just noticed, with a 5 looking at it. So that, oh, whoopsie, how do I get that back? That's got to either be 2, 6 or 1, 7. Bobbins. Okay. Oh, yeah, look, red is now tied in. How's red? Even if red takes some cells from the 5 cage, it's still only 5 cells large. It can take 1 cell over here from the yellow region, because the yellow has to take 5 of these cells. So that's going to give 6 cells maximum to red, which means red has to come out through this 8 cage. So now red is minimum 5, maximum 7. No, maximum 8 if it takes one of these. Minimum 5, maximum 8. Sort of, it's making me think that this cell might be what it has to take. Purple has to get out. Purple needs more cells, so it's got to come along and take the 11. But purple again could be now, it could be 4 plus, it could be 7 cells large, maybe 8 if I count that one. Oh, but purple's next move, whatever it does next, has to take in a 3-cell cage. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So if it's true that that does have to be purple, then that definitely isn't purple, which would be pretty huge. Oh, but maybe... there's all sorts of things going on, but I can't quite convince myself. I might have to come back and think about this again, I think. Unless there's some simple Sudoku we can do. Can we do simple? Oh, there is 5 and 1. 5 and 1. So that's a 1 in the 12 cage. Oh, good grief. Okay, so actually, look, we can do loads. That's an 8. That's a 7. So this column needs a 4, which is there, therefore. So these 2 squares have got to be... Oh, well, that's a little interesting. Those 2 squares not only have to be 6, 7, 8, 9 by row logic, they actually have to add up to 15, because these 2 cells add up to 15. And obviously those 4 digits together add up to 30. So... 5 is now looking at that cage, so that's got to be a 2, 6 cage. So that's no longer a 6. These are neither of these are 7s because of the 7 at the bottom. So we're looking to fill these cells here with a 3, 3, 4, 8 or 9. 3, 4, 8 or 9. And rather annoyingly, I don't think I can tell you anything clever about that. 5. Right, there's a 5 in my 17 cage now, and that's because of this 5 ruling itself out of those 3 cells in row 4. So none of these other digits seem to be 5-able. So that has there's a 5 in the yellow domino now, which is almost very interesting. No, this is beautiful. This actually is beautiful. So there's a 5 in this domino. So where does the 5 go in row 5? Well, it's not. It can't repeat in the 17 cage, and it can't go in here because of the blue logic. So doesn't it have to go in those 2 cells? And if it has to go in those 2 cells, I've now got my full quota of 5s for columns, whatever these are, 6 and 7. Because I've got a 5 in this domino and a 5 in this domino. There are only going to be 2 5s in this column, so that's where they are in these 4 cells. So that can't be a third 5, so that has to be a 5. Now that... Right, there's now no 5 in the 19 cage or the 11 cage, which... Now, the 11 cage has... has to not be 5, 6. And it's not 3, 8 or 4, 7. So that's 2, 9, I want to say, which marries up the 2s up there. Which I'm sure is interesting. Oh, that's not 8 or 9. There's an 8, 9 looking at that. I just noticed. So this is 3 or 4. And there's... Oh, I see. Okay. So this needs another digit in it that's not 1, 5, 3 or 4. So it's a 7 or a 6. And unfortunately, I think everything there is possible. Okay. So how do we make more progress now? I hear you asking. Unfortunately, I don't know the answer. Although what I think this puzzle is incredibly good at is the way it's, or at least the way I'm solving it, involves a bit of sort of thinking about the killer cages, and then a bit of Sudoku, and then a bit of thinking about the killer cages and the geometry again, and then thinking about the Sudoku again. How can I have been going on this for 46 minutes? That has flown past. Wow. Oh, for goodness sake, Simon. Right, okay. I can do maths in the blue cage. Those cells add up to 33. Now, the whole cage adds up to 45, so those add up to 12. And they're not 5, 7, and they're not 4, 8. So those two are 3, 9 pair, which is resolved. Okay, so 9 and 3 go in the grid, which means that's a 4. That's probably going to be huge, I think, because that being a 4 means that the other digit in here is now a 6. So this is a 1, 5, 6 combination. That's not a 5. Oh, come on, Simon. What's that doing? I don't know. I'm sure that's doing something. I just can't see what it is. Right, that's not a 4. So there's an 8, 9 pair. So this has become a 3. So this is this is still not 3 or 5. That's still 1, 7 or 2, 6. So whatever this is will determine the nature of this cage. So that would be very important to know, wouldn't it? Oh, that's an interesting thought. Oh, for goodness sake, right, this is not red. That's going to make red far too large. If I make that red, I've got 48 in red, whether or not this is in. That's right, isn't it? Yes, it is. So this is not red. So this is either purple, which is too many, surely. Purple 26, yeah, 45, that's too many. That's not 9 cells. So this has to join to an existing colour. So its only options are grey and yellow. Now if it joined to yellow, you could never fit the 9 cells of grey in between the two, you know, in between the yellow. The maximum number of cells you've got is 6. So this is grey. Which means 1, 2, 3. We don't know what this is. This is either red or grey. 7 cells there, adding up to 35. So there are 2 cells not yet greyed in, which add up to 10. Now, those 2 cells that are missing from grey, therefore, are either 2, 8 or 3, 7. They are not 1, 9, because we've already got the 1 in here. Now, if we've already got the 1 in here, we must already have a 9 in there. And that is beautiful because there's a 2, 9 here. So the 9s in this column are now locked into those 5 cells, which means we can't have more 9s up here. So this is a 9, this is an 8, those are not 8s anymore. Oh, we know those added up to 15, so that's 8, 7. This is 6, 9. Oh, come on. That must do something. I've now got a 4, 7, 8 triple down here, but it doesn't seem to be affecting very much. Red has been boxed in though now. Oh yeah. Look, red is really boxed in. Red's got 7 cells maximum, and it can only get 1 cell over here. So that must be red. And these must be red. There we go. There we go. So that's red. Red now has 5, 26, 34, 37. It needs an 8. So it's not there. So one of these is an 8 and it's red, but I don't know which one. But the fact there's a red 8 in one of these means that that's got to be a 9. So that's 9, that's 8. That's 9, that's 6. 6 is not here anymore, which means, whoopsie, which means 2 is not here. And still it resists slightly. 7 in blue. This 7 means it's got to be in those squares, so that's a 4, 7 pair, which means that's an 8 by Sudoku. So this is no longer 8 or 7. So this is now a 6, 9 pair in the final column. And there's a 9 here. So this is 9, this is 6, and this is wonderful. It's just wonderful, isn't it? 6 comes out of here. Right, this row needs 2s, 3s, and 6s. So that's 2, 3, or 6. It's not 2. We've already got our 2s for these 2 columns. So this is 2 or 6. Oh, I don't believe it. It can apparently be either of those. So these are 2 6s and 8s to complete this column. So 2, 6, 8 triple. No, I can't see how to resolve it. Sorry. Okay. So, what on earth do we do now? I know what we do. Right, where's 7 in row 5? It doesn't seem to be in any of the pencil marked cells, so it must be in one of those cells, which takes the total for the 7 and the 5 to 12, which means we need 5 more, so that can't be a 6, that's got to be a 3. And now we need a 2, don't we, in here? So this is 2 and 7 in some order. I'm just going to check the maths on that. That is working, isn't it? Yes, it is. So this is 3, 5, so that's not 3. This isn't 2. Oh, and there's a 3 here, so that's a 6, that's a 2, that's a 3, that's a 6. This is a 2, 8 pair with a 2 here, so this is 2, this is 8. And surely that's important. I'm desperately looking to see how I can continue the Sudoku, and I can't see how to do it. 6 here, yeah, okay, so that's 6 in grey, which means this is a 1, 5 pair. No. This being a 6 means, there's no 6 in there anymore, so this is now 1, 7. Which also is not resolved. I don't believe it. Right, so this is 2, 4, and 8. And what do we need to complete this 19 cage now? Do we know what its nature is? The answer to that is no. I know it's missing. Oh, it's 3, 7, or oh, I know. Yeah, I do know. Because look, I've got 2s in these already in column 6 and 7, so I can't put 2 in there. So how do I make the other 2 cells in this 19 cage add up to 10? If I can't use 2, 8, it must be 3, 7. So this is, oh, that's lovely. Look, there's a 7 up there. So that's a 7. This is a 3, 9 pair. Which means I suppose that's 9 and that's 2, which means that's 2 and that's 5, which means that's 5 and that's 1. Still, it resists slightly, doesn't it? That's not 2 by Sudoku. Oh, right, sorry. Now purple has to collect this 10 cage because purple is not big enough when it's only 4 cells large. So now, assuming this is correct, I've now got 8 cells in purple, and I've got to either have this one or this one as the 9th cell. And I've got 26. I've got 36 in purple, so I need 2 more cells outside of the cages, which add up to 9. So this, right, so this 10 cage is either 136 or 145, and it's not 145 because it can't be. Now, let me just double check. There are no other options. It's not 127. That would repeat the 27. No, there's no other options. It can't be 235. There's a 2 in there already. So this is 136, and that's not a 3. Somehow, I've got a 136 triple in this column now. I've got a 16 here. There's probably all sorts of triplicates and stuff going on in rows 7, 8, and 9 that I'm not appreciating. I need 4. Right, so if this is rich, well, I mean, it must now be true to be purple because it quite clearly can't be grey. And we proved earlier very comfortably it wasn't yellow. So that is now a 4 or a 5. And the other digit we need in purple is here or here. And has to be a 4 or a 5 as well. And in grey, we're looking for 2s and 8s, which are probably going to be... Oh no, hang on. Oh yeah, okay, because the yellow could dip down the side. Here's a small point, actually, that might be useful. Where does grey's 2 live? Yeah, where does grey's 2 live? Now, the only thing I think I'm prepared to say about where its 2 is that it's not in column 9. Because how are we going to put grey's 2 in column 9? The only way to do that would be if these 2 squares were 8 here and 2 here. But that would make this purple, but it would make these 3 squares all have to be yellow, but they're a 2, 4, 8 triple, and there's already a 2 in yellow. So these cannot all be yellow. So this cannot be the 2 in grey. And that means that the 2 in grey must be in one of those 2 cells, I think. And that means that square's a 7. And that's a 2, which means that this is a 2. This is probably the grey 2 now, isn't it? Yeah, grey. Where is grey getting a 2 now? The only option to it, because that's the 2 in column 7, that's the 2 in column 9, is this one. So that's grey, which means that must be grey, because it definitely can't be another region. So we know that's 8. Doesn't give us anything else, but never mind. That's now 4 by Sudoku, which means this is 5. Which means this is not 4, because there's a 4 in the column. So that's 4, which is actually a bit surprising. Slightly worried about that. But anyway, because now we've done all the regions down in this bottom right. We've got, as Maverick flies past in celebration of us doing this region completion, that's definitely 9 cells, isn't it? Yes, it is. That's 9 cells, yes. Oh, no, no, that's not. That's 8 cells. Oh, I've got to get one of these over here. I still don't know. One of these is red, but I don't know which one still. But let's come back over to the right, because those 3 squares now can only be yellow. And I'm sure this is very important. It tells us exactly how the puzzle finishes. If you'll just give me a second to work it out. Maybe it's this column actually. 1, 4 and 6. No, it's not. 1, 4 and 6 go in there. That's not 1. Oh, I tell you what, I've got my 1, 3, 6 triple here, haven't I? So that's an 8, 9 pair, and that is resolved. So that's 9, that's 8. But yellow still needs 8s and 9s. Oh, for goodness sake, Simon! How are we meant to be? How am I meant to do this? This must be done, isn't it? I'm sure it's done. I'm just not seeing the quick way of doing it. Like, where does 7 go in column 9? It can't go there, so it seems to have to go here. So that's 7, that's 4, that's become 6, which means this is not 6. Oh, and it's not, right, so that's a 4 by Sudoku. It's not a yellow 4, so that's got to be a purple 4. And purple needs an 8 and can't get one from anywhere other than there aren't 2 8s in these white squares, so that must be the purple 8. Now there are 2 9s, but if this was now purple, that would be purple, and you'd get a repeated 9. So that's got to be purple. That's got to be purple. I've now got 8 cells in purple, and the digit I have not got is a 7. And that's good, because that must be it. So those two become yellow, and these 2 squares have to be the missing digits from yellow, which are 1 and 8, which somehow is not resolved. But it does at least mean I now know that this is 1 and this is 3. Which means that this is 1, and this is a 3, 6 pair, which means, oh, this is so cool. So that's 1, that's 4. And how is all this stuff at the bottom not just instantly done? Yeah, it is 1, 8 here. And this 8 is telling us where the red 8 goes. That's the red 8 at last. We now know the nature of yellow. Let's do that region division so that we feel good about ourselves. Do that one. So I think we've now done all of the regions. We just have to figure out how this all fits together. And the way we shall do that, how is this not done immediately? I'm not sure. But these squares at the bottom have to be 3, 4, or 6, and there seems to be a 3, 6 pair there. So that's a 4. Which means that's 4, that's 7, that's 1, that's 1, that's 5. And now even I should be able to get that digit. That's a 2, that's a 2, that's a 6, that's a 6, that's a 3, that's a 3, that's a 9, that's a 9, that's a 7. That digit's a 6 by Sudoku. So this is all looking quite promising, isn't it? 3 and 5, I think, are the last 2 digits. And just let me double check this before I click OK. I like it. I think it might be correct. Yay! Yay! Just over an hour. Not quite as barbarically hard as I was expecting it to be. Now, I was warned this could be a very long video. It's still quite a long video. But I think the thing I loved about that was how elegantly it combined the sort of rule set and using the killer geometry with the Sudoku. Now, I know many of you will say that Sudoku didn't play to my strengths, and it probably didn't, but there were 1 or 2 moments where at least I wasn't totally inept. I think doing the stuff with the 5s and the 1s was very critical, like getting a 1 in that 16 cage, that felt big, because I could stop the 16 cage joining up to the 28 cage, and that seemed to allow us to make more progress in the top right and down here. It's a beautiful puzzle though, isn't it? I mean, this is a relatively new constructor, KNT, who's just suddenly turned into or become or just was naturally able and gifted enough that they can just create these wonderful puzzles off the bat. It's incredibly impressive. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you had a go. Let me know in the comments. I do enjoy reading them, especially when they're kind. And we'll be back later with another edition of Cracking the Cryptic.